Hello and welcome to Eco Girl in a Modern World. My name is Shelley and my channel is dedicated to talking about ways to be more environmentally friendly in a modern context. Today I wanted to change gears a little bit. We had talked most recent fashion trends, and with this time of year, if you're watching this at the time the video posts, it's a very busy time. The summer is wrapping up and kids are going back to school, whether you're, in elementary school or going off to college. If you are going off to college, I highly suggest that you watch the fast furniture video that I have listed here. It talks a lot about ways to try to be mindful when you have to do things like, live away from home for a while. But it really just got me thinking about, kind of like this time of year, with new things coming in, whether or not you're getting new backpacks, new lunch boxes, new clothes, new shoes, all the things that we buy new for back to school, it got me thinking a lot about organization. And I actually did a few organization things this week, so I can really share from a first person perspective. It was actually very eye-opening. But it just really got me thinking about how really the organization of what you own already really goes a long way for what you replace it with, or whether or not you bring in new things. So that's definitely pertains into being green. Well, and to jump right in, you can't really talk about organization without talking about the parallels between maximalism and minimalism. And you saw that, in the last couple years, there's been a real trend of minimalism as a lifestyle. And I don't discourage minimalism. I think it has a lot of really good to it. It's just, I do believe that we sometimes get into opposite extremes. We either shop too much, which gives you a dopamine hit, when you impulse buy or when you buy something, that really does release dopamine in the brain, and it's soothing. It makes you feel good, right? And actually shopping online does it twice, because when you add to cart, it gives you the dopamine hit, and then the expectation when it arrives or when it comes in the mail is another kind of a feeling of that reward chemical, right? But the problem with shopping or doing that is we tend to become dependent on it, right? You go to the mall, you shop to have fun. You go to the mall to feel good, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when it starts to get into a pattern where you're really kind of nurturing yourself with your shopping habits rather than really kind of getting to the core of why you need that feel good feeling. The other thing is that dopamine is naturally kind of earned when you accomplish something. And sometimes shopping is just a way to kind of hack that. Buying yourself something feels like a reward, right? So it's kind of a way of getting that chemical in your brain without really having to do the work or having to delay without any delayed gratification. Now, the other side is, believe it or not, minimalism is also a dopamine hit, and this is something that you don't hear about so much, and I'll actually post a few videos down below. There's an excellent channel by a lady named Christina who really has talked about her journey of getting away from buying things. And again, right now we're in a under-consumption core. We turned it into a core. Under-consumption is just, being green and not buying so much. It's what we've been doing the whole time. But that's been a trending thing. But minimalism is kind of like that. And this channel, Christina, really talks about her journey with that, how she really kind of got into some very bad shopping habits, and how she really got to the root of what was fueling that behavior. And it's interesting. She's not a total minimalist, but she has really great videos that are very informative, that really talk about where that impulse comes from, and also how paring down or just using some of the minimalist principles have really helped her get better. Sometimes purging is a negative. It perpetrates this cycle. Just like you see, we buy all the fashion trends for fall, and then come spring, we purge them. We say, okay, get it out of there. Purging also gives you a high of saying, oh, look, I've cleaned this out. Also, I'll put the video down below. Christina talks about it really well too. Sometimes purging, when you throw everything away, but you get everything out in mass. Sometimes that can also be a little bit of a psychological punishment to yourself for spending too much money. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought this. It wasn't what I wanted anyway. Let's get rid of it. And I really like her channel because she really talks about healthy ways of dealing with that. She even says if you did splurge, don't get rid of it right away. Wait 6 months, kind of try to style it, try to live with it. So she has some very healthy tips, and I really, really like her channel. She's not a staunch minimalist. But just bear in mind that sometimes when you get into these purging habits, and what I'm going to talk about cleaning up, you can get into an extreme with it too. There was a funny video. There was a lady, and it was cute. She has a cute channel that I'll put down below. She did a massive purge on her DVD collection, and then she really, really regretted it afterwards. And then it was so funny. She had this kind of war go on in her comments section between people who keep everything, and then people who purge everything. The minimalists and the maximalists went at it in the comments section. But it's again, it's a balance. It's a balance. You don't want to be purging just to feel good, just the same way that you do with shopping. But sometimes, going through and seeing things that are organized. One other preface is that when I'm talking about organization, I don't mean those TikToks where you see people, buy a bunch of acrylic containers and then dump everything out into those people who completely redid their pantry. You do not need to buy 20 million plastic containers in order to stow the stuff that you're trying to organize. I don't believe in that. That's wasteful. And honestly, that type of plastic that you're replacing it with is just not biodegradable. It's you're taking cereal out of a cardboard box that's wrapped in wax paper and putting it into a plastic container that's probably acrylic and not really good for you. So I'm not talking about that type of organization. When you see me do my organization, I've talked before on this channel, you can find a good box, and I'll go into that. But that's what we're going to talk about today. And organization is very good to do this time of year. It's kind of good to get into a habit, especially when you get in these splurgy times, like, oh, it's back to school. Oh, all the fall fashion is out. It's really good to, just like we talk about being mindful in your shopping habits, just because it's the thrift store and it's $3, you don't need to buy 10 items. Really look for the things that you need. And that's what I like about a lot of the channels that I see, the channels that I watch that talk about thrifting. They are very mindful. They'll say, oh, okay, if that didn't really fit me correctly, or if that wasn't really my style, let me leave it for someone else who will need it or appreciate it. I don't need to bring it home with me and have it collecting dust in my closet. The other thing is also, when we talk about it in the same vein, if you've been holding on to something and you really don't use it, or you bought it on a whim, which we all have done, really think about whether or not you can resell it, try to get some of your money back, or, donate it where you really think that it would get, that it would go back into the cycle. But what got me thinking about organization is I had been watching these videos. Again, it's fall time, and I'd really been careful. Since my fall fashion video, I do not like to go out and just buy every single fall trend. I really like to look at my closet and say, okay, how can I create these fashions with what I have? Let me shop my closet. And it's funny, in one of these videos, one of the most helpful, I'm going to go over a few of the top, kind of three things that I do that has really helped me organized. And the first thing is you got to know what you have so you don't buy it again or buy it in a different version. And the best way to see what you have, you got to see what you already own. And the best way to see what you already own is to have it folded over in your drawers, especially when you have like pants. If you, instead of stacking up your clothes, you know, flat, if you fold them where you can see, you know, you can see it in your drawers, you can see at a glance. First off, it lets you see what you have, but it also makes it so much more quick. It makes it quicker when you're styling an outfit. Like if I'm looking, you know, I like to put, you know, put together my outfit the night before. That way it's hanging up so I can just wake up in the morning, and I'm not a morning person, so I can just go straight to the hanger and put it on, you know, while I'm half asleep. And, you know, I'm more of a night person, so me getting that creative juice of saying, okay, what am I going to wear tomorrow? I get to do that the night before. And it just makes it real quick and easy that you can go through and I can see, oh, okay, you know, it also lets you see what's clean, right? If I have, you know, my favorite pair of jeans, if it's dirty in the laundry basket, I can see, okay, I've already worn those that week. You know, what else do I have here? And it's just really nice. It makes it very quick and easy. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the video with Christina that had it, but she was the one who taught me that trick, that hack about, you know, just kind of folding over your clothes. The other thing that's really nice is that this keeps me honest, because if I do decide, oh, okay, I want a new pair of jeans or I want a new pair of pants, I also have to hold myself to the fact that, will it fit? You know, if all of my jeans are clean and folded up in their nice little rows, am I going to be stuffing it, you know, to get into the drawer? And that does also lead to my fast furniture video. The dresser that I have is vintage. It's very solid wood. So I'm very blessed and very lucky that I don't have the problem of, you know, with fast furniture. Sometimes when you are stuffing clothes in it, sometimes the drawer can start coming apart at the edges, right? So that is a consideration too. You don't want to be stuffing your clothes in there. And I did actually realize with my most recent organization that, gosh, I have a lot of white shirts. And I did kind of comb through them and say, okay, how many is too many, you know, and why do I have so many, you know? So I really did get honest and kind of did a purge. You know, I went through, and it wasn't really a purge. I can't even call it a purge. It's more of a par down, and I'm very proud of that. I probably, you know, pulled out maybe 7 pieces of clothing and still had plenty of room, you know, if and when I wanted to replace them. See what you have and get it organized where you can see it. And same thing goes with your closet. You know, if it's really so stuffed that you can't, you know, that you have articles of clothing really squished in between that you don't even see it. The other thing that I did that I was really proud of is that, and I actually got inspiration looking at my pants drawer. I was like, look at how organized this is. I've been able to get dressed quicker, you know, and that, you know, that also, and Christina talks about that in her videos, that takes a real weight off of you, you know, maintenance of stuff. When you have a lot of stuff, that's a lot of maintenance, and it can become very overwhelming when the clothes are piling up on the chair, you know, the catch-all chair, or they're slung over the footboard of your bed. It's starting to pile up everywhere, and it becomes very daunting. You know, when going through and organizing your clothes becomes several hours long, you know, either that or a whole day. You know, when you talk about combing through and organizing stuff, if it's a whole day's worth of work, you're not going to want to do it, and it's going to feel very intimidating. And that's the opposite of fun. You know, going through your clothes and dressing up is supposed to be a fun thing. It shouldn't be something that you dread doing. And sometimes this kind of, you know, organizing as you go, which is another concept she talks about, is a very helpful thing. But so, you know what you have. That's kind of the rule number 1. Now, I had this beautifully laid out pants drawer, and then I went one drawer up, and it's amazing how my pants drawer was completely organized, clean. But then when I looked at my sock sock and underwear drawer, which is the top drawer, it wasn't unsightly. I kept things folded and I keep all the socks together, but it was getting really stuffed. I found myself kind of pushing things down, trying to shove it closed. And I thought, oh my goodness, when is the last time that I combed through all of my socks, and all of my underwear? And, when's the last time I did an organization of this? And, so the second thing is go through and do a comb through. And this is something she talks about. Go ahead and do a comb through. And this might take a little bit of time. This is probably the most time consuming part. And you probably are going to need to start to create 3 different piles. The 3 piles I had were I wear this every single day. These are the good underwear, the good socks, the stuff that I actually wear in my daily life to work, out and about. And also I organized the socks a little bit. I started to get them into, categories like, okay, are they knee-high socks that I wear with boots? And we're coming up on boot season. Are they the cuff socks that I wear with, sneakers? Or are they the no-show socks that I wear with with my slip-ons, the ones where the socks don't show? And then I have a bunch of cutesy little pattern socks. So it was like, okay, let me create a pile for all the good socks that are there. Then I had a second pile that was kind of the holy socks, the ones that were really starting to get threadbare and worn out. And then I also, pulled out the ones that, you talk about socks having one sock and you don't know where the other one is, right? I didn't have very many of those, but I did have a few singles, so. And one other thing that I did is I also keep my belts in that top drawer. And I just noticed that, and I also kept my pantyhose. I noticed that I had 12 pairs of pantyhose, or it was 10 pairs. It was a lot. And I was like, my goodness, how did I accumulate this, right? The key word is accumulate. And I was like, let me go through and try all of them on. And guys, I had, out of all of those pantyhose, I had 2 pairs that were ripped, had a hole in them, not wearing those. I had 2 pairs that really didn't go over my thighs. They wouldn't fit over my thighs. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I don't know if I bought them and I never wore them, so I didn't realize that I got the wrong size, or maybe I'm getting a little more junk in the trunk. It's possible too. But they didn't fit. And they were perfectly good pantyhose. They just didn't fit. So I was like, okay, that goes in a good pile, but a pile that I'm not going to wear. So let me get that out of the drawer. Another thing is I had some really cutesy tights. I had a pair of plaid ones. I had a real lacy pair. And I'm like, okay, we talk a lot on these channels about sometimes part of the impulse of buying fashion is sometimes you're buying for your fantasy self. That's half the reason that we kind of drop so much money on clothes is because we think, okay, if I dress like that, I'll have that lifestyle. And sometimes it can be, again, that lifestyle, okay, if I dress like stealth wealth, then I'll look, rich, be the change, that you want to see, right? Or, sometimes that can be in a more fantasy way as well, again, if you're doing, more of the cottagecore, you're looking like Little House on the Prairie. If you're dressing more like a decade, I know my 2 favorite decades are the 40s and the 80s. So sometimes, I'm dressing for my fantasy self there. I do also I really like surf culture, so sometimes I really kind of dress up like Gidget, I'll have a lot of surf shirts and stuff. But those tights, they were really brightly colored, and they were kind of a little bit, I believe you should always wear what you want to wear. I don't think that there's any age restrictions for anything. I don't believe in that. But I did think that it was a little too bold for my real self, and it was probably just an impulse that I wanted to try to see if I could pull it off, right? It's, that's half of fashion. You have to try it to see, it's trial and error when you're finding your personal style. But I did set it aside because they were really thick tights. Like they weren't like thin like pantyhose. They were really thick and they really would keep you warm. So I am gonna ask my nieces if they want them, and if they don't want them, then I can donate them and let them, let them make somebody else happy, right? And now is the perfect time with kids going back to school. If you have stuff like that, if you have coats and cute stuff, now is really the time, especially if you donate to Goodwill centers or thrift stores that are near college campuses or high schools or elementary school, if you have clothes for young ones. But that was just really empowering, and to be honest, I got really honest with my undies too, because sometimes you have that favorite pair of underwear and you just wear them until they are shredded and it's like I used to read this in fashion magazines all the time. If you have some holy underwear, and I don't mean sanctioned ones, if you have some holy, really ragged underwear, it might be time to let it go. Just let it go, throw it away if it's really that ripped up, and then see what you have. And honestly, even after I separated out all the raggedy stuff, I still had plenty of pairs, enough to wear that it opened up that drawer really nicely. The other thing is I went through the belts. I said, okay, what am I really wearing? What am I not? And I had 2 belts that I really didn't wear. So I got a chance to get those out, got my silk scarves out. And, I really got a chance to keep what I really wear. I was proud of myself because I went with all the fashion rules too that I talked about. Like if you look at my donations video, sometimes, you look at something and it's a beautiful cut, but it's just not the right color for you. And you don't wear it because when you put it on, it makes you look washed out. So, I had to get really kind of honest. And again, watch some of these videos we're going to post down below. It's okay to be on the fence about something. It's better to keep it than to give it away and regret it later. But you do have to ask yourself, is it the wrong cut? Is it itchy? Does it have a tag in a bad place? Is it just, is it a color that makes me look awful? All of those things, just like we use those kind of steps to make sure that we don't buy something that we don't need. It's the same thing when you need to kind of par down as well. But I finally got it pared nice and down, and it looked so great. And just like I showed you earlier, you don't need like a bunch of new acrylic plastic dividers for your drawer. Everything I do have, I have the drawers sectioned off, but I use little cardboard boxes. It's amazing, some of these gift boxes, like not to sound funny, but if you get like a new cell phone, those boxes are really sturdy, and no one's going to see that it has the name of your cell phone when it's in your sock drawer. Who's going to know? You don't even see it, right? And it makes for nice little sectioned areas. I have like a box that one of my Coach wallets came in. That's where I keep all of my belts. And then, I have other little boxes, and it just helps section off everything. And you really don't have to pay it, and it's not even about the money. It's just about like the biodegradability of it. You take a nice little cardboard box and do everything that those little TikTok videos are asking you to do by dropping $100 for a bunch of acrylic crap. Don't solve a problem that doesn't exist. A good box is a good box. Right, so that really got my mojo going, and I did have like just one small bag of donations that went to the thrift store. And after I always like to see if I can sell something or see if I can give it to friends or family that would appreciate it first, and then if it's really good quality, I'll give it to the thrift store, because of course it's back to school time, and you could really make somebody's day by finding a nice pretty outfit that's of quality material for back to school. Now, another thing that I was going to talk about is out of sight, out of mind. And that's very similar to know what you have. I found that whenever I kind of ventured, once I was done doing organization of my clothes, I found myself really looking at my jewelry. And I combed through and I was like, okay, wow, and kind of the same rules applied. I had a pretty pair of vintage earrings that I had gotten at the antique mall, but they were a cream color, like a really yellow cream color, and I look much better in crisp whites. If you put cream next to my face, like a real warm colors really make me look very, very red, and they make me look sickly. And so they were dangle earrings, but I didn't ever wear them. I probably wore them like once or twice, and they were bought pre-owned, but I was like, let me donate this and see, because if I'm not wearing them, it doesn't serve it. It's not serving the piece to be, just locked up in a jewelry box, and it's taking up space in my jewelry box, right? So that kind of got me on a purge or a par down of my jewelry. And it was amazing how, as I combed through, I really set aside, I said, okay, how often do I wear this? Would it benefit me to just donate it? And I did. I got a chance to go through, and I think it was like about 3 pairs of earrings, one pair, a couple pairs I am going to try to sell because they're very, high quality and might, let me recoup some of the money. I don't sell it for a whole lot, but I don't, I don't price gouge when I resell. But what really got me thinking is that sometimes we over accumulate with jewelry too, and I'm guilty of this too. I have more jewelry than I do for the one jewelry box, right? And so I have this kind of separated. I have it kind of spread out amongst 3 jewelry boxes. And one of the jewelry boxes is solid silver, and it has a pretty blue velvet lining. I got that at the thrift store for $5. It's the most beautiful box, and I think the only flaw with it is there is one little dent on the bottom, but you don't even see it. It's like, gosh, you're selling it for $5, and I do think it's solid silver. It's like such a pretty box, but sorry, I regress. But what really got me thinking is, again, out of sight, out of mind. I have, as I comb through all my jewelry, I realized I have all these beautiful earrings. I have all these beautiful necklaces, and I don't wear them as much. And the reason I don't wear them is because it's not easy for me to get to them, and I can't see them at a glance, right? And if you watch my Instagram, I recently talked about a jean purse, and I had this monogram of a G that stands for my last name that I put on my jean purse, and it looks so cute. And it's the adorn your purse trend. That's been a big thing. I'm seeing that everywhere. But I have a lot of really beautiful vintage pins, and I wanted to utilize them that way. And I thought, okay, how can I use this more than once? Because that's another thing with organization. It has to be dual purpose. How can you use it for more than just its one purpose, right? And I usually wear pins on lapels of my coats, but I got a chance to actually wear the pins on my purse. But I had them in, I had them in little velvet bags in 3 different jewelry boxes. They weren't easy to get to. I had to remember where I put the one pin. So I decided to get them all in one place. And so that was the second rule that I kind of went with my organization. How can you get everything paired together? And now, before I jump into this, one thing I have to preface is that that's another place that you get sold a lot is jewelry storage, because again, you buy a lot of jewelry. It's funny, I was watching the the early aughts TV show Bones, and it's very early 2000s fashion when you watch that show. And one of the big things is that every single episode she has a humongous statement necklace on, or big statement earrings, and they're all beautiful. But I'm like, wow, she has a different necklace on in every single episode. And it got me thinking, how would Temperance Brennan store all of her necklaces, right? Would she have like a 6 foot tall, a revolving rack of hooks for all of the medallion necklaces that she has? Because a lot of them are stone or metal or very valuable, and you kind of have to think the same thing when you're storing your jewelry. And I think what happens is, I think that's another way that we spend money, or that's how capitalism gets us, is they'll be like, oh, and I've seen this too. You walk into Target and it's like, here's this whole mesh rack for all of your jewelry. The problem with this is not only is you're buying something, you're consuming in order to have something to store your jewelry, but the other thing is that it takes up a lot of space, right? They tend to be pretty big. And again, you don't want one fixture that's the size of a lamp that's just displaying your jewelry, right? So I kind of got creative with this. I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to be going into my pins every single day, but there's something, the way I got eco-friendly with it is there's something called a type tray. A type tray is a wooden tray that used to hold the type letters for printing presses. I know that's really, that's really antiquated, and they're beautiful solid wood of kind of trays, and you can find these at antique malls. Now they do get a little bit pricey contingent on the size of the tray. Like the 2 trays that I have were probably anywhere from $20 to $35. Sometimes they can be a lot more than that if they're really big. But I did have 2 trays, and what I did is I went ahead and actually one of the trays was just a wooden trivet that I had bought for like $5 or $10. The only reason that it costs that much is because it's a solid wood. It's really, like, I think it's like oak. And I got these 2 trays, and you know what happened? I had some leftover material from an upholstery project. So it was just some leftover, like really fuzzy kind of material. And all I did is I didn't even glue anything down. I just cut out little squares to kind of line the bottom of the type tray. And I went ahead and put all of my pins, all of my brooches in the tray. And it's amazing, guys. The smaller trivet tray, and I did the same thing with the trivet tray. So the smaller square tray, I keep all of my bracelets, and then it stacks on top of the tray where I have all of my pins, all of my brooches. And guys, me just doing that, and the nice thing is I put it in a place that I don't have to access every single day, but if I need to get to it, it's quick. I always like to think of it as like 1, 2, 3. If you can't get to something in 3 steps or less, it's going to become clutter. It's going to become like you're going to feel the burden of having to, stuff shift to shit shift to, sorry, pardon my French, I hope I don't get dinged for that. You don't have to poop shift to get to what you need. So 3 steps or less, but it turned out really great. And I'm so glad because all it is it's repurposed materials. I used material that I already had. I used type trays that were vintage. So you can get very creative with that. And I'm not knocking any of those racks that we were talking about. I mean, if they help you, and again, this being back to school time, I've seen IKEA has kind of like a pegboard kind of system that you can use, and that is really good because you can use that multifunctionally. You can use it to hold craft supplies, and then when you're done, if you say, oh, okay, now I want that to be my jewelry storage, those type of pegboards are very, very helpful. And actually in the same vein of that too, to try to make something multi-purpose, another way that I display my pins is there's speaking of back to school, there's a magnetic board. So I'm sorry, there's a company called Umbra, UMBRA. They create like a magnetic board. It's like a magnet board, and some of the boards they have actually have little pinholes, so you can do both pins. Like you can put push pins, and the nice thing about push pins is you can hang jewelry on push pins, or you can use magnets, like just the little circle magnets that you can get at the craft store for $3.50. You get like 6 of the big strong ones, and the nice thing about that is that you can put your pins, like the back of the pin is metal, you can put your pin on the magnet and it stays. So, me, I'm a paper craft artist, so, I like to put, little notes. I have a magnet board that I use for both, little images that inspire me, or, I follow the feng shui principle of having a gratitude corner. So all the little notes that say thank you, or the sweet cards that I've given, or my favorite places, I magnet little pictures of that in the corner, which is good chi. And then what you can do is, if it's one of those, circle magnets, you can put a pin there when it's not in use, and it looks like a magnet, right? And then later, if you say, oh, here, I want to use my cute, dinosaur pin, you can just take it off the magnet and go use it. So just little creative stuff like this, those type of magnet boards are very, very helpful. I've noticed that when you can think of more than one way, where it's not just jewelry storage, because sometimes when it's just jewelry storage, it can become a little bit cumbersome. Not too long ago, I did do an Instagram post that talked about ideas for your hair clips too. I do the same thing. Out of sight, out of mind is the same thing for that. Sometimes you can have a lot of those really, really cute hair clips, but you have it just thrown in a drawer somewhere and you don't remember it. If you have like an old belt that you're not using, you can hang the belt up and clip it can be like a line clip. What I like to do, believe it or not, the clips that I have this one little doggy clip, and he fits perfectly on top of my lipsticks. And I don't know how this is. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just when I'm done doing my makeup, he just sits right on top. I also have a little angel one, a little cherub, and it just sits right, again, also in my little makeup area. So if I need to clip my hair back while I'm doing my makeup, or if I'm actually wearing the clip for that day, it's just an easy way to grab and go. So these are kind of the ideas that you want to keep in mind. How can you be creative? How can you reuse something that you have? Another thing that I kind of saw is that if you do have one of those jewelry boxes that have like maybe a mirror on the outside and then almost like a medicine cabinet, and you could repurpose a medicine cabinet for this purpose too. On the outside it's a mirror, but then when you open it, you could have, little hooks to hold all of your jewelry. That's really cute. You also see those metal grids, like if you have a leftover metal grid from something, like a clean one, nothing rusty here. Come on, guys. But if you do, you see metal grids that can be used or are kind of used in a creative way. If you hang that up to be a way to either hold things where you can see it at a glance. But I've just noticed that has been a lifesaver when I can see it and I can get to it quickly. The last thing that in the vein of organization is that keep what you use the most closest to you. So that's one other thing that I did is that, when I thought about, okay, what are the top 10 necklaces, or the top 5, it's really the top 5, what are the top 5 necklaces that I really go to every single time, including my silver heart. And I had my little silver heart, the one that I love and adore, tucked away and, more than 3 steps away. So I really did a reorganization where it's towards the front of the jewelry box and I could really grab it in one step when I'm ready. So this is kind of stuff to think to keep in mind. And I'll just say, right now it's we're almost to September. We're gonna blink and it's gonna be the holiday time, and gift giving season, a lot more is gonna be coming in. Now would be a great time just to kind of get a step ahead on the organization. And I highly suggest checking out those channels. I know underconsumption has been a very big deal, and I'm glad to see it. I'm happy it's here because this is what we talk about. But as you're keeping all of these goals in mind, you can also think about, okay, where would I put it? That's the other thing. That's something that really gets me on whether or not I'll buy something is, I've once I've pared down and made room, do I really want to give up that space again so quickly? Do I want to, if once I've made a little bit of space, do I have to fill it up right away? Probably not. Give yourself some room to breathe and enjoy that. That's half of the minimalist high that you get from doing a little bit of a purge. But I just noticed that all of these is just, it makes you feel less burdened, and it also makes it easy, and especially when you're going into the busy type, the end of the year, to have everything where you can get to it just makes your life so much easier, and helps you accomplish the tasks that you need to. But I would really love to know, is there something that you do creative? Is there something that you've upcycled? Are there tips and tricks that you do to stay organized and that make things, you know, quick and easy and accessible? Are there any tips that you have for, you know, what you do when you need to par down, or before you buy something new? I'd really love to know. Please feel free to leave a comment. Also, if you like what you see here on this channel, I would be very honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. But I hope you're having a good start to your fall, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.